Staying still, staying where you are, believing that because you've changed already means you don't have to change again. I think that's where you go lukewarm. There's no rewards in lukewarm. Lukewarm feels terrible. I think at the beginning of everything, we're always 2 feet in, and then we're like, Welcome to the podcast with Kilee Nichols. I'm Kilee, founder and CEO of the life-changing accessories brand Nickel & Suede and the successful style blog One Little Mama. I made the unlikely transition from stay-at-home mom to founder and entrepreneur. It takes a lot of courage to make a change like that, but I love the growth and the confidence that's come from stepping out of my comfort zone. This is the podcast for people who want to be inspired to be brave, to take a chance, and to change their life. I'll be sharing stories and actionable takeaways about working with your spouse, being a working mom, starting and growing a business, confidence, motivation, and more. So get ready to get inspired and to get started with Kilee Nichols. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I'm Kilee. You are here with Kilee Nichols, and I'm excited for today's episode. I was a little bit nervous and kind of trying to wrestle with, what do I talk about today? Should I talk about this? And I just decided better now than later. It's never going to be more raw than it is right now. And I feel like the topic that I'm going to talk about today is on my heart. And I think it'll help a lot of people because it's a situation that we are constantly going to be finding ourselves in throughout our lives. So I'm just going to go all in. And today's topic is kind of where I'm at right now. And as a human being, as an entrepreneur, as a mom, just as a person. So, over the last couple of weeks, I have been attending several different conferences, and it reminded me how great it is to get away from the everyday. My everyday is typically getting up, going to work, taking care of kids, and the week's kind of there's always so much to do, so busy, so chaotic, and it's so good to get away and meet new people and be exposed to new things and have time to think about other things. So at these conferences, they were both for work, but I had the chance to listen to a lot of different speakers, and one of them was for the Inc. 5000, and we were able to listen to speakers and network with other business owners. But then the second conference I went to was more of a personal development conference, and I wasn't sure what I was going into, but I definitely came out with a whole lot. So one of the invitations from the weekend was they invited you to consider a question that you'd been facing in your life and a decision that you needed to make, and to make it by the end of the weekend. And I thought, I don't know what that is for me. What decision have I been facing? Is it to what does next year look like for my business? Do we continue to launch new products every month? Or just felt like I didn't have any really high level questions to consider. Whereas everybody around me was just like, oh yeah, like, do I launch this, or do I quit my job, or things like that. So it took some stretching for me to come to a question, but I did it, and holy cow, did it unveil some serious resistance that I've had in this question that I guess I really have been wrestling with. And that question has been dealing with change and allowing myself to evolve. So if you've been following me on social media at all this week, I've kind of been teasing out and testing out this message. And I even did a blog post a week or two ago about seasons and how fall is here, and it's in full bloom here in Kansas City, and I love it. I've been waiting for it. The leaves have finally changed, and it is just the best. I mean, October 20th and 21st were just like all the leaves changed, and everything was glorious, and I loved it. And I took my kids around on walks, and we were picking up leaves, and we were just comparing them all, and I was just thinking, man, I've been waiting for these changes to happen, and it's so beautiful, and I was so excited about it. And it made me reflect on all of the changes that have been going on inside of me recently. And I've been really trying to accept and embrace these changes, and thought, wow, it's been such a struggle for me to embrace these changes inside myself. But I love watching it in the seasons, and I love watching it in other people. And I thought, wow, I'm such a hypocrite. But change is beautiful. Change is so wonderful. And it is such a part of life and why we're here, and how we become better. And so I definitely will remember that every time I see these seasons change and say, you know what, am I changing too? Am I changing the way that these seasons are changing? Because it's anticipated. You anticipate these seasons are going to change. I'm going to anticipate that I'm changing too. So yes, I realized this weekend that I have been resisting changing and accepting myself evolving. And I've been kind of holding on to the old me and scared to embrace the new me. And what I really have been doing is I have been trying to be the me I thought I was going to be instead of the me that I was meant to be. And I don't know if you have ever, found yourself trying to fit the old box that you used to be in. But I realized how hypocritical that is of me, because I am all about trying to help people step outside their comfort zones and, hey, break that box. Hey, try those earrings. Hey, try that new thing. And I know how good that is. But I realized I had kind of found myself in a place where I thought I had kind of broken all my boxes and that I was good and that I could just maybe stop. Maybe that was enough. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey and why, how I got there and why I was stuck. And so that partly starts with, I grew up with a stay-at-home mom who was amazing. She's like the best stay-at-home mom there ever was. And four younger brothers and great family. And we didn't have much, but we totally had everything we needed. And so I grew up with this idea that that's what my life was going to look like, and that that's what the best kind of life would look like. And so I went to college and I got married, and we started a family, and we wanted lots of kids, and I thought I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And along the way, I, found that I was having hobbies at home, and but I still loved having kids and being a stay-at-home mom. And so I literally thought that was kind of where I was going to be. And then we started an Etsy shop, and that Etsy shop was our belt shop that I've talked about. And then we started another side business, and Soren and I did those things together in the evenings. And then I started a blog. And so these things kept building, and they still equated to me as being a stay-at-home mom. And so I found myself recently realizing, probably in the last 2 years, people said, well, did you start Nickel and Suede? Like, didn't you know you'd be working? Didn't you think, like, if you're going to be opening multiple stores and all those things? Like, I've struggled with this idea of realizing that I'm a working mom now, because I had this old idea of what I thought I was going to be versus what I am now. And I hadn't really kind of worked through the thought process to get me from what I thought I was going to be to what I am and am going to continue to be, if that makes sense. So other things in my life that I've worked through and changed. And let's see. So when I was in college, I had an eating disorder. And I've talked about this a little bit on my blog, and it may be worth its own deep dive at some point. But I had an eating disorder, and that was a struggle for me, I think, through high school and through most of college. Just this perfectionism and this stress constantly about how much I weighed and what I was eating that day. And it was just kind of like this tone that took the background of everything that I did. And it did end up kind of taking the shape of pushing me into my major of nutritional science and things like that. And it took a lot of work and a lot of grit to push through that and get through that. And I was really proud of myself. I did outpatient counseling and read lots of books. And I'd say probably after having Easton is when I really felt comfortable, okay, I've pushed through that. I've overcome that. And that felt really good. And I was really proud of myself for evolving and changing past that. And that felt great. Let's see, I also have started let's see, I've done lots of counseling actually. So I've done counseling personally besides eating disorder, just with confidence and just being kind of afraid of a lot of things. I know I've talked about fear a lot on this podcast, but just I used to be really nervous and very, very introverted. And so I had a hard time speaking up. And so I did a lot of counseling there. And so I remember my counselor challenging me to do things. And I think I've shared one example of going to a group volleyball activity and actually participating and actually playing the game with other adults and feeling like, oh my goodness, I just participated and I didn't make a total fool of myself, and being like so proud of myself. Or 2 months ago, we went on a triple date and we played pickleball, and like, I've played it cool, but afterwards I was like, dude, I just played pickleball with 5 other adults and like survived. And that's like a challenge for me because I'm just not like that athletic, and I just didn't grow up playing things. And so it's still super uncomfortable and slightly embarrassing for me, even though I try to play it cool. So there's just been lots of situations where I've pushed myself past these things. So I have lived what I preach, where pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is an awesome thing and it feels good. We opened a retail store. I never thought I would open a retail store. How do you open a retail store? We threw it together. We ordered whatever furniture we could find. We painted the store. It used to be a dark gray brown. We painted it white. This was our first retail store for Nickel and Suede. But that was very much stretching outside my comfort zone. Like, okay, we're going to do this. And we made it happen. So I've had these moments in the past where I feel like I have stretched. I've done it. I am better now. I'm proud of myself. And so I can teach other people and say, that's a great thing. You should do that. It's better. Life is better when you do that. But those things are hard. And I think once you do those things and you achieve that and you make it to, like, you have some success after pushing through something hard, then you're like, I'm better now. Like, I don't need to do it again, right? Like I've succeeded in that area of my life, and maybe I'll push myself in another area, and then like I'm good. So, I'm only 33. That's silly. I realize now, for me to think that like in multiple areas of my life, I am done. Like I check. But that's kind of what probably our brains like to do, is say, you pushed yourself. That felt so good. Good job. And then like, don't think about that area right now, because you need to go think about another area, and that's totally fine. But what I've realizing is that we're constantly evolving and we're constantly changing. And if we get too attached to that past evolution, like that past change that we made, then we don't allow ourselves to change, to continue to grow past that. Does that make sense? So, as a style blogger, like my blog started one way, and then it changed in another way, and then it changed in another way, and it changed in another way. And every time it changed, for some reason, I was like, are people still going to like me? Are people going to respond to this well? And, so there's like a lot of common threads, I think, in these changes, and maybe not letting ourselves continue to change. And a lot of that has to do with being afraid of how other people are seeing us evolve. So, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? I have changed a lot ever since I started having an Instagram account. If you were to scroll back to the very beginning of my Instagram, of course it's changed. It's very obvious. So why would I kind of try to pretend that I'm still the same old me? But in my head, I'm like, maybe I can still fool people into thinking that I'm still this way, even though in my heart and my mind and my dreams have shifted. They've changed. They've gotten bigger, and I'm a little bit scared to share them, or I'm a little bit scared to own them. So I was talking to my producer about this. We were talking about it as we were prepping this podcast, and Derek, you were saying the same thing. Like, this was resonating with you too, right?
100%. So I have my own videography business. I think what resonates with me a lot is that constant putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation and growing.
Yeah.
You've been talking about. I remember my first sales call. I was really nervous, and but then afterwards I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah.
And like my first video that I put out got a good response, and I was very happy with it. But sometimes you can feel comfortable with putting out that same content, that same sales style, and you don't grow. And plateauing is like the biggest thing I'm scared of, but I think I am kind of doing that. So I want to continue to keep growing.
Yeah.
And putting myself in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, totally. Because we were talking about how Derek does hype videos. So he does my podcast, and then he does the opposite thing, which is like hype videos for sports teams, and how he does such an awesome job at those, and gets such great feedback. But that's kind of his comfort zone, because it's like, well, man, when I do one of those, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so these are for hype videos for like towns of 2,000 people, and people in those towns go nuts for them. Like, they don't get a lot of media attention, and I love the response I get. And I always want to kind of do that, but
it's so good. It's such a good thing you do. Yeah.
But I'm worried that that's my whole business now.
Yeah.
And I'm not growing past that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to look for that next step to make me feel uncomfortable and to keep growing.
Yeah.
So.
That totally resonates with me. That's kind of what I'm glad you said that, because that gets me back to like my point. Because I felt like at this conference this weekend, I was realizing like I had been hanging on to blogging and being a stay-at-home mom as kind of my comfort zone. Stay-at-home mom is, I adore stay-at-home moms. I adore that. But I think there's more in me than that, because I just kept, when I was a stay-at-home mom, I kept doing more things. I kept trying more things. I kept starting new things. And so like clearly I was supposed to be doing other things with that. And so this is where I've ended up. And so as I continued to shove down who I was meant to be in favor of who I thought I was supposed to be, I was just making myself sick, like literally almost like depressed, like just frustrated and irritable and hating life. And so I decided this weekend to just go 2 feet in on where I'm at in life, which seems kind of like, of course you should do that. But really, the future is where everything is at. And I can't keep holding on to the past of who I thought I was going to be, because who I am right now is literally who I am. And all I can do is work towards being my best self in the future. And there's so much potential in the future. And so I will be a better mom if I can accept the way that I'm able to be a mom right now and be the best mom I can in that situation. And if I can let go of the things that I'm holding on to just because they're my comfort zone, like blogging. I mean, I would love to still be able to blog as much as it supports the me that I need to be, and as much as it can help me share the message that I need to share because of who I am, but not just because that's easy or because that's comfortable or because that's what makes me feel like I'm valuable. I need to be willing to just get uncomfortable and say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to try to just start sharing my message. And I don't know what that looks like. And maybe it's going to fail at first. Maybe nobody's going to like my message right now. Maybe my Instagram likes are going to go down. Maybe people will stop following me. Maybe, maybe I'll make, I have an income from my blog. Maybe that will just totally go away. But that's okay, because what I'm deciding to do is go all in on myself, go all in on my future, go all in for my family and for my employees. And that's worth it. And so just this idea of that staying still, staying where you are, believing that because you've changed already means you don't have to change again I think that's where you go lukewarm. And lukewarm there's no rewards in lukewarm. Lukewarm feels terrible. So I think just realizing it's going to be hard either way, and that it's hard to stay in one place. So what I decided for myself is that I'm going to own my own evolution, and I would challenge you to do the same and realize that we all are going to continue to evolve, and I hope we do. So for me, that looks like and I think I would challenge you to kind of make your own list of this. But for me, that looks like stopping comparison. It looks like owning my decisions that have gotten me to this point. I've kind of a little bit played the victim. I've a little bit said, oh, I didn't quite choose this. This kind of chose me. So why me? Instead of saying, yes, me, and I'm going to do it. And just being incredibly intentional about owning that and being 2 feet in. On my life, choosing not to blend in and just not looking back. So I'm I know that takes a lot of confidence to do, but I really feel like that's the most important piece. And I'm excited to have that back and to feel in on that. So, thanks for listening today. I really would challenge you to consider, what are you feeling on the fence about? What do you need to go all in on? And it might not be work related. It might, I don't know what it's related to, but we're all sitting on the fence about something. We're all a little bit nervous to take, to evolve again about something, but we all need to. Every season needs to continue to change. So leave it in the comments. If you're watching here on YouTube, if you're listening, send us an email. I'd love to share if there's some great, stories about how you need to be 2 feet in. I'll share it on social media or share it here on the podcast. Would love to help get this conversation started and get us going. Because I really think 2 feet in is going to be the way to go, because that's how we're going to get moving. So thanks so much. We will see you next time, and have a great week. Thanks for listening today to With Kilee Nichols. Stay tuned next week for another episode. And if you can't wait until then, you can find me at onelittlemama.com, MOMMA, for beauty, our family, style tips, and more. And you can find my business at nicholandswade.com with the and spelled out. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.